this video, Pilentum Television will introduce you one of the finest, most famous and superb model railways built in HO scale in Germany. If you're asking German model railroaders and railway enthusiasts where to find the most outstanding permanent model railway exhibition in Germany, they will probably answer, this is the Modellbundesbahn. Let me explain the word Modellbundesbahn. It is an artificial word that consists of two parts, namely the German phrase Bundesbahn, which is the name for the German Federal Railroad Company, and namely the German phrase Modellbahn, which means model railway or model railroad in the English language. On the contrary to many other model railway layouts which are presented in Germany, this HO scale display is an accurate and historically correct scale model of Ottbergen railway station and its locomotive shed as they were in 1975. Buildings, locomotives and trains are carefully weathered. There are no high-speed trains. No, there are freight trains, local passenger trains and a lot of railway traffic at the classification yard or marshalling yard as it was usual in the early 70s. For example, take a look at the trains and note the correct speed of them. In this model railway layout, the true speed of locomotives was correctly converted into the scale model. When building this miniature world, a lot of emphasis was put on reality. Therefore, I would like to explain the history of this miniature railway project. When the railway conquered Germany in the 19th century, the various railway companies needed a central location for a railway depot. The loco depot had been established close to the small village of Ottbergen. Ottbergen is a city in eastern North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany, approximately 60 kilometers south of Bielefeld and approximately 50 kilometers north of Kassel. In Germany we call it Weserbergland, meaning something like the Weser uplands, a hill region. For example, Driving by car from Cologne to Ottbergen, you will need at least 2.5 hours. Coming from Hanover, you will need 90 minutes by car. But the area is also accessible by train. It takes about 3 hours from Frankfurt to Ottbergen. Okay, back to the history. Railway operation was never simple here, and the hilly terrain required suitably powerful locos. Over time, traffic became even heavier with the opening of new railway lines in the 20th century. Therefore, the loco depot grew with the allocation of more and larger locos. And then, the strong steam loco, type Class 44, was often in use. In the early 1970s, two things happened. On the one hand, the Swiss brothers Bernard and François Huguenot realized that the steam age was coming to an end in Germany. They wanted to document a typical steam shed and eventually decided to concentrate on observing the use of the famous Class 44 locomotives working from the loco depot at Ottbergen, which was to become famous as one of the last major centers of steam in Germany. So the Swiss brothers did not just photograph the steam locos in action and at rest, but also recorded in great detail every aspect of the related operations and infrastructure, photographing and measuring all the structures and equipment, and watching the personnel going about their daily duties. On the other hand, in the early 1970s, there was a small boy called Karl Fischer living near the railway line in Ottbergen. When he was a young boy, for countless hours he stood near the railway line and watched the large steam locomotives of the German Federal Railroad. He was fascinated by the Class 44 steam train locomotives built between 1926 and 1949. And of course, he was fascinated by the big marshalling yard right behind his parents' house. 20 years later, Karl Fischer had a dream. He wanted to recreate Ottbergen in miniature as an authentic historic record. Karl Fischer, his team and the two Swiss brothers agreed to make all their research material available and cooperated with the design and planning of the Miniature World project. Fischer was also able to draw on the knowledge of local historians and retired railwaymen with direct experience. Captured by its memories of the steam age, 30 years later, in October 2005, the first stage was opened as Modellbahn Ottbergen in the historic goods shed near the railway station of Bad Triburg. Bad Triburg, by the way, is a town also in North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany, approximately 20 kilometers away from Ottbergen. I guess in this video you get to know a lot of German cities. Sorry, but I want to describe the places as accurately as possible, because maybe you want to visit this Modell railway exhibition someday. Let's go ahead. In 2005, the layout had been built in sections and was assembled as a large U-shape. On one side is a scale model of Ottbergen railway station and the famous loco depot. On the other side is an accurate scale model of Bad Triburg railway station. Both of these railway stations are built as they were in 1975. Trains run at authentic scale speeds. The landscape is modeled to a very high standard, packed with realistic details and enhanced with cameo scenes, with a certain number of animated features, some replicating railway activity operated by push buttons. On the railway, a signalman leans out of the window of his box to show a special hand signal to a passing loco. While these were designed to entertain the general public, they never dominate. They were added to increase the realism of the scene, often with an amusing aspect. The first stage of the railway layout was constructed by professional builder Gerhard Dauscher, while the second stage has been supervised by Michael Budkay. The buildings are mostly scratch-built, or at least heavily adapted, as few commercially available kits were correct. Parts for the buildings were CNC milled from original CAD drawings. The HO scale display was built over a period of 8 years, taking around 35,000 man-hours. Occupies about 100 square meters and consists of 1,100 meters of track, 216 points and 83 signals. In fact, the Modellbundesbahn is a superb HO scale permanent display layout constructed to museum quality. In 2007, the British railway journal Continental Modeller called this layout the German equivalent of Pendon Museum. As you know, the Pendon Museum, located in Oxfordshire, United Kingdom, recaptures scenes from the English countryside as it was in the 1920s and 1930s, using exquisite models to explain an exciting era of the British railway history. Although the Modellbundesbahn is operated as a commercial enterprise, there are no gimmicks, just high-quality railway modeling at realistic speeds using authentic train formations. Cameos to entertain the general public are carefully arranged to be natural parts of the scene. In 2009, Carl Fischer and his team decided to expand the layout. This was not just a simple case of an addition, but involved modification of the existing installation. A large new central module was added with a new railway station. Of course, this new module had to be built in the same design of the 70s. If you look at the cab right, you will discover this new section because it was used as a starting point of the POV drive. Furthermore, this point of view video, some say first person view video, which are made by Pilentum with great passion, are a very good way to get to know this Model railway layout exactly. The size of the whole installation makes it necessary to use a digital control system using the software train controller. Control of trains, control of accessories, occupancy detectors and locomotive decoders are based on the Selectrix digital model train control system. Finally, there are more than 80 locomotives, 900 items of rolling stock, 150 buildings, 7,000 figures, more than 1,500 trees and 2,500 shrubs. Everything was fine by the year 2017, but then Karl Fischer and his team, especially Norbert Siegmann, decided on a change. The old location of the Model Railway exhibition had become too small. An enlargement of the layout or an extension of the exhibition area was not possible. Therefore, the entire installation was dismantled in the summer of 2017 and rebuilt in a completely new exhibition hall. At the end of May 2018, the new exhibition was opened in the city of Brakel, approximately 15 kilometers away from the old location. As you can see on the cab-right train journey, there is enough space to expand the railway installation. The team is developing the ability to exchange locos and modify train formations automatically, using remotely controlled intelligent digital couplings in order to be able to replicate railway operations even more accurately. There is an ongoing programming to fit the interior lighting to all coaches. Actually, the new car system is running, and the team is going to double the exhibition space from 100 square meters to at least 200 square meters. Pilentum Television is sure that whatever is done will look wonderful and work well. Now, dear friends of Pilentum Television, I have talked enough about this beautiful model railway. I am going to use the famous expression, a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Guten Tag, Geschwindigkeitskontrolle, Sie sind zu schnell gefahren. 50 sind erlaubt.
Sie geben jetzt bestimmt ein Bußgeld.
Ja.
Please enjoy the next 25 minutes of this video without any comment. There will be another cab ride and many outstanding video shootings of steam trains and steam locomotives. Whenever you want, take a look at Pilentum's website on www.pilentum.de. On the website, you will find some great photos of this model train layout. And don't forget to visit this layout called Modellbundesbahn when you are going to make a journey to Germany.
gerade eben auch so Kleinigkeiten, Feuer und eben auch anderes, dass die Nachtzeit oder bei der Bühne so ein bisschen Beleuchtung rein, dass gerade Zeit gemacht wird.
Dann bist du was so kannst, das wird automatisiert.
Wird vorne immer